Welcome to Atlantic City and the location where I was planning on shooting my intro. Hey, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Atlantic City, New Jersey, where we're going to be exploring a little bit today with a focus on some of the more dying and abandoned aspects, mainly along the boardwalk here, but probably do a little bit of off-boardwalk exploring as well. This town has had quite a rocky and kind of up and down history in its 175-ish, 70-ish years that it's been around. From its booming economy, supported by illegal alcohol sales during Prohibition, to its illegal gambling and organized crime that took place in most of the 20th century. One of its lowest points, arguably, in at least recent history was in 2014, when 4 of the Boardwalk's 12 casinos closed, and then a year and a half later, a 5th casino closed. Now, 3 of those have reopened in some capacity, and so we'll be looking at those today as we walk up and down the boardwalk and kind of see what's going on. But if you listen to the marketing out of New Jersey and local Atlantic City, you'd get the impression that this area is on the upswing. It's full of energy and life and rejuvenation, and it's moved on from the lows of 2014 and 15 and 16, and now it's back and headed towards better than ever. But if my drive in was any indication, I'm not so sure that's the case. So I'm gonna wander around a little bit. I'm gonna bring you with me and let us see really what's going on in Atlantic City. So the Revel was actually new. It was only a couple years old when it closed in 2014. It opened a few years later, as you can see, as Ocean, and actually seems to be not doing too terribly, not doing too poorly. As we'll see, some other places aren't quite having that same level of success, but just an example of kind of the confusing state of things and kind of just the general confusing vibe that I'm getting of the place is you've got Ocean right here, this really nice looking resort right across the street, or right across the boardwalk from what is now, I believe these were a set of old museums. I believe this was the Atlantic City Museum here, and then a local I just talked to said that this was actually a museum celebrating successes of local African Americans in Atlantic City. So hopefully that's correct. Someone will have to let me know. But they moved these down a couple miles down the boardwalk and just closed these up. And it doesn't seem like there's any real plan to reopen them. So as we'll see, there's a number of either dead, dying, or abandoned places intermixed with the occasional halfway decently performing place like Ocean here. This was a fire that recently happened right at the edge, as you can see, the edge of this resort that is the Ocean Resort here. And this was actually started, if I read the news correctly, by a fire from a homeless encampment that was living underneath the boardwalk here. So right next to Ocean, there was a homeless encampment living under the boardwalk, and this fire started. I don't know how it started, but that's the result of that. So and I will again have to fact check myself, but I believe that was in January of 23. So this is apparently, you can see they're building a water park type place back there, but this lot apparently has been empty for a very long time, and it doesn't seem like, from what I can tell, that there are any plans to do anything with it. But it's sitting as we'll see, this confusing, like, what's happening here situation right between Ocean and the Showboat. And so actually these 2 casinos here, so the Showboat and what was Revel, Both of these were two of the casinos that closed in 2014. When the Showboat reopened here, basically reopened as a hotel only. And so what they did instead was open it as an arcade. So instead of having casino games, whatever, you've got this Lucky Snake arcade. That's all part of, I believe, at least in part, part of this sort of revitalization plan that they're having to try to make Atlantic City more family friendly. I've been here for a couple hours so far. I don't get the vibe that this is any more family friendly than it was the last time I was here. So I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, let's see if we can maybe go in and sort of get a little peek at what this arcade at the Showboat looks like, and maybe we can wander around a little bit, wander around the hotel itself and see how it's doing post closing. This is super weird. It has a really strong casino vibe to it, but it's all arcade stuff. So they have an indoor go-kart track here. Well, that was sure an assault on the senses, similar to a casino experience. So let's keep looking, see what's upstairs. Okay, so this vibe is totally different. They turned the buffet into a gym? I'm assuming this was left over from the casino days. Maybe they have plans for this other than, but they've got boxing rings here, and the actual buffet just closed down. But what's really creepy is they still have all the chairs and the tables. Over there they've got in here and I would think they would want to have this closed off, but I guess not for some reason. if the camera picks it up, but there's also a really loud, like a hum, or like a high-pitched hiss coming from some of the lights. Like, why do they have all of this turned on? Like the lights turned on, I mean. Boxing ring is for authorized use only. Okay, so I don't know if they have, this is super weird. And something else too I noticed. So they've got old school like CRT TVs here. And then where are they? Back down there. Okay, so it's like they forgot to update the second floor here. Clearly the spa is not open. I almost didn't come upstairs because I assumed this was just modernized and all. I'm really glad I did. This is weird.
That was really Honey's experience. I know. That's with you.
Alright, so they're having some sort of little kids like dance competition type thing going back there in the old House of Blues venue. Hopefully some of what I got I can show you guys, but I'm venturing to guess a lot of it I'm gonna have to cut out. But there was a really cool wall that was like a House of Blues memorial that had House of Blues 2005 to 2014. So I'm assuming that means that the House of Blues as a House of Blues is no more, but it seems like they're still using the space for other events. So that's cool. Let's get back out onto the boardwalk and see what else we can find. So like I mentioned earlier, in 2016, October, I believe, this place here, which was the Trump Taj Mahal, closed and ended a 5-casino closure streak over the course of a couple-year period. It has since reopened as the Hard Rock Casino. It seems like it's one of those ones that's actually doing halfway okay, and I don't know that there's a ton really to check out in there, so I'm actually going to skip it and keep going. So when gambling was legalized in Atlantic City in 1976, the first legalized casino and a hotel was Resorts. And interestingly enough, Resorts still operates today as a casino and hotel in the same location that it did as the very first legalized gambling establishment in Atlantic City. And so we're coming up on that here. And so you can see a walkway there that connects, I keep wanting to call it the Taj Mahal, but it connects the Hard Rock, now Hard Rock, to Resorts here. So I talked to a local for probably half an hour a little while ago, just to kind of get the scoop, sort of the lay of the land. He was born here, he lives in the island just north of town here, And I get that it's only one person's opinion, so take that kind of with a grain of salt. But he was talking about how local politicians kind of can't get out of their own way in order to really help revitalize the city, right? So, like, look at this, for example. So I don't know what this lot used to be here, but I get the impression that that was one of those similar walkways that connected the hotel to probably another hotel and casino, which it's just gone now. And maybe that's not the case. But yeah, what that guy was saying was that Atlantic City government can't seem to get out of its own way. It keeps electing politicians based on a popularity contest as opposed to qualifications, and electing people who are qualified to do the job. So they, elect the most popular person, they get in office as mayor, whatever, various positions, and then, they're not qualified to do the job, and so they can't help fix up the place. To help clean up the boardwalk, at least, they've installed security cameras that are monitored 24/7 at each of these cross streets here. So we can see here, and I can hopefully zoom in on it, but it's sort of up in that area there. But those are monitored 24/7 for any suspicious activity, and apparently they send out law enforcement units to address anything. But they've done that. I've seen a couple of these cars that drive by that are basically Atlantic City / Boardwalk ambassadors to help sort of give people directions, help them out a little bit, but then
take money out as they go.
It's crazy. It's like you do things like put up security cameras, have these local ambassadors, whatever, but you don't spend the time and the money and the effort to clean up the appearance of this. And based on what I've seen driving in and this stuff here, I'm guessing we're going to see more like this the farther down we get. But I think that's probably, at least my opinion right now, is that that's probably Atlantic City's biggest problem, is the appearance that it gives people. The roads are in awful shape. The buildings are in terrible condition. Supposedly, that guy was telling me there's no code enforcement for any of the buildings. So the buildings are dilapidated. The streets are full of potholes. You get on the boardwalk here, which should be kind of the prime bread and butter of the area, and you've got loose boards all over the place. You've got the boarded up shops just right there. And so I think it's kind of, here's an example of the camera I was talking about. But they can't get out of their own way, right? To do some basic stuff that could have, at least in my opinion, some major impacts. So anyway, just my thoughts as I'm wandering around. Curious to get your thoughts as well. Let's keep looking. State of New Jersey Casino Control Commission, Division of Gaming Enforcement. That's actually a government building in there. Next to these boarded up abandoned places. See, that's what I'm talking about. Just some basic effort like that to improve the appearance, I think, would really go a long way. And I don't know if here's another pier. So that first pier was closed, but that was more carnival type outdoor stuff. Let's see if this pier here. So I'm gonna sneak on through here. that was brief but otherworldly. And this is actually the shot that I wanted to get for my intro. Look at this.
Right, brake is in the left. There's no bumping on fronts allowed. You gotta go fast when you're going up. Let's go.
If it wasn't for the loud go-kart thing happening. But take a look at this. And we're actually going to talk about that in a little bit, but that is an abandoned mall on that third pier that I'm going to try to get into and check out. But you see this, like, it does not have a great vibe to it. So let's go back through this and back out onto the boardwalk. To manually pull that open right next to this boarded up place here. Wow, so that north end up there with the ocean resort definitely gave me a better impression. I thought that maybe I had just gotten a bad impression of the place when I first came in, but things are not great. Okay, so right across from that Aracade Pier, where we just were, is this area here, this kind of 3-block area. This is supposed to be the new hip kind of arts district-y part of Atlantic City called the Orange Loop, named after the orange streets on the Monopoly board. And so for those who didn't know, all the streets on Monopoly are named after streets in Atlantic City. So they called this new revitalized section here, or revitalized, the Orange Loop. But I would never have guessed that this is supposed to be the new and improved part of town based on this. Like, there's a coffee shop that I was going to go to here. I think it's on the other side here. Maybe it's better one street over, but this is St. James Place, and I think it's St. James, New York, and Tennessee Avenues. St. James Place are the 3 blocks that make up this new thing that if you look it up on the website, there's a whole come and visit the new hip place to be in Atlantic City, the Orange Loop. And thus far, it's this. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, this is cool. But that doesn't make up for just the general, like, what's happening here. So I think if I go across here, it's the coffee shop that I wanted to go to. If it wasn't for the fact that I know that this is a couple years in the making, I would kind of cut them some slack, and they're kind of trying to make it work, but like, this is, in my opinion at least, not great. That building, for example, has all the windows blown out on the top. It looks like it's about to fall apart. There is not the revitalization going on that the city claims. So, at least not that I've seen, other than a couple of casinos that are doing okay. But even those casinos give me, kind of in combination with this environment, give me a really strong Back to the Future Part 2 kind of alternate timeline vibe, where you've got the casino that's doing really well, Biff's, and the rest of the town is falling apart. But this up here, Heyday Cafe, or Heyday Coffee, is what I was going to go do, so maybe I'll go grab something here. never mind. They closed. So I can't even get my coffee. I just missed you, huh? I just missed you.
Do you want a cold brew?
That's actually exactly what I want.
Okay, perfect. Come on in.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't think to check your hours first.
No problem.
The manager saw me and let me in and gave me a cold brew on the house and talked to me for probably 10-ish minutes about the local area here. And it appears as though I have not gone down the right section of the Orange Loop. This is New York Avenue here. Apparently if I go down Tennessee Avenue, which was the next one kind of 2 streets over, that's where a lot of stuff is going on. So let's go check that out real quick. We'll head back up onto the boardwalk from there and keep our trek or our little exploration going. Not that the boardwalk is doing any better, but you get just 1 block off the boardwalk and the vibe somehow gets significantly worse. Like, I think this is a Best Western hotel here next to a boarded up building. What's that? This looks like it might be some sort of Knights of Columbus building, possibly. Oh, yeah. Knights of Columbus. Recognize it from the Freemason-esque type thing. But yeah, just boarded up. See, right next to this Howard Johnson is what she was telling me is kind of the biggest redeveloped part of the Orange Loop. This beer hall and pizza shop up here. Man, like, she told me give it another year or so, but man, I do not know. I think they still got a ways to go from just having a couple of these random stores here. And you got empty liquor bottles on the ground. But maybe, like, I think they need to do something with this first, including that giant Knights of Columbus Hall. But I mean, I guess there's potential compared to kind of falling down boarded up buildings. That's definitely better. So fingers crossed for the area that can keep going. So. This place has a bunch of windows, it's all boarded up, windows blown out. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, because I just noticed this here, and what we just saw with the fire, that local that I talked to is talking about how you can likely peek under a lot of these openings and find little homeless encampments kind of being built up under them. So that gives you a whole new perspective or something to worry about, I guess, get freaked out about when you're walking on the boardwalk here, right? Like, am I walking over somebody? Am I walking over a lot of somebody's? So now we're coming up on this next thing that I don't know a ton about. I basically just know enough about it to be dangerous. Oh, here's another boarded up pizza shop. So my understanding is that this used to be, it's abandoned now, but it used to be an entrance to a walkway that connected the Claridge Hotel down there, right there. And so for anyone who knows more about this than me, please fill me in the comments or correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe that this used to be an open, because you can kind of see it here, like a walkway of sorts. And now it's just abandoned right along the boardwalk here, but like an open walkway that connected down to the Claridge Hotel. Like I said, right here, right? I think my next goal is going to be this Shops at Caesars abandoned mall on a pier thing, but it looks like I have to go in, likely I have to go into Caesars. And I've heard and read that security is a little tight with that, so I don't know how much luck I'm gonna have, but I'm going to give it a shot, because I think documenting that would be really cool. I'll see you in a minute when I see if I can figure out how to get in here.